Hi, Tina Raffa-FOREVER here again for part 2 of my story. On November 25th, 2004 was also one of the most painful times of my life. I had reached another low point, to say the least, in my alcoholism. And I was literally walking the streets wanting to die, wanting to kill myself. It was Thanksgiving, and my husband at the time was at dinner up north with my son was with him. I was staying at my aunt's house. Luckily, she allowed me to live at her home because I had basically ruined almost every relationship in my life one more time. And it was an extremely lonely night, and I remember finding a bottle of parrot rum in my aunt's cupboard and just desperately trying to, I don't even know if she knows this, if she ever sees this, but and I was trying to drown my feelings, in that parrot rum that tasted so good, I thought. And I remember doing drink and dials. I was dialing people just to talk to people, and it really sticks out to me. I remember this one lady got frustrated with me and said, "Call 911," and I have a lot of remorse because I called a grandfather, that he's not here anymore, and poured my heart out to him and was supposed to go see him the next day. He's like, "Oh yeah, honey, come out here." And I was just drinking and crying, at my apartment. Of course, the next day I was too hungover and passed out and never showed up. That's what alcoholics do. They say a lot of things that they don't mean, and they don't show up, and they're not accountable. And that was me one more time. And my son was 4 years old at the time, and I was devastated to be separated from him. And like I mentioned before, someone from the program called me the next day and invited me back to the program, and luckily I went, and I heard my story one more time and was reconnected with my tribe. And now I still had my career in prison by a small thread. I was in 2004 I only had about 4 or 5 years in the department, and I was always calling in sick. I had the earn it and burn it philosophy, about sick time, and I was always getting pay docs. I was on the captain's list for calling in sick too much. I didn't have I don't want to say I didn't have a very good reputation. I had a horrible reputation. Yeah. And I just wasn't good. And I barely was hanging on to my job. Barely could make it there. And so I went to meetings and got honest and started taking responsibility for what had happened. And that was a really important thing, taking responsibility for my part, what happened. And that's a common theme I notice in the prison system, that with people that are incarcerated, a common theme is that they always blame someone else for where they are. Not everyone, but it's very common that they're always blaming somebody else for what happened to them, and they shouldn't be there, And that's a common theme on the outside too. And that's what I was doing. And I've learned today that we really need to take 100% responsibility for everything that happens to us. Everything, no matter what it is. And that philosophy has gotten me far in the last few years. So since Since I have been sober, I've been very successful. I got 4 college degrees. I have my AA. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I have a master's in business administration. I have a master of science in clinical counseling, because my dream was, I don't know, I'm not sure if it's really there anymore. My dream is to be a therapist, to be a counselor. I never liked the word therapist. Didn't really resonate with me. I didn't like clinical psychologist. Maybe that's why I haven't completed it yet. I enjoyed the college very much because it's all about helping people and all those topics that I love. But therapist doesn't really resonate. There's good therapists and there's not so good therapists. And then some people jive with some different people. It takes different people. And then someone ruined it for me when they broke it into the rapist. It's like, oh. Therapists are, they're human and they make mistakes too, and they fall a lot, and they have a bad reputation in prison. So that kind of held me back on that one. Not that I care about what people think, but we do need to be concerned about that a little bit. We can't really be helpful to many if we don't have a good reputation, if our word doesn't mean anything, if the way we carry ourselves is not respectable. So because of their reputation in prison where I work, it's not really what I wanted to do. But I've always, since I got sober and since people have saved my life, literally, I've always wanted to give that back. It's just that is definitely my purpose, to give it back, to help someone. And I've gotten that opportunity sometimes over the years. And those times mean the most to me. Today, in my sobriety program, I attend every morning at 7 a.m. with a group of people. They're my tribe, for sure. And some of them I've known for 20 plus years, ever since 190 or around then when I first walked through the doors. We have a lot of history. They've watched me grow up. I've watched them go through trials. They've watched me go through trials. We've watched each other succeed. Watched our children grow up, together. And it's really cool to be a part of a tribe like that supports being sober and being the best you that you can be, because there is a lot more to being sober than just not drinking. And I'm not knocking anyone that drinks out there. If you can have an occasional drink and you are one of those lucky ones, then lucky for you. I am happy for you. It just wasn't me. I wanted it to be. I love to party. I like to have fun, and that was one of the ways. However, I had to get honest. I had to admit that I have that disease of addiction and alcoholism. I've since learned that it is partly genetic, it is partly learned, and it definitely runs in my family. There's no denying it. So I didn't really have a chance there, and that's okay. I'm grateful that there's a solution, that there was a people that put the solution, in a book and created this sobriety circles that we have today that help so many. And I love sponsoring women, sober women today. I do that on a regular basis. And that is really the bright spot of my life. I've learned that there's a little bit of good. Sorry about that. A little bit of good in the worst of us. There's a little bit of bad in the best of us. No one is better than anyone else. No one. Well, when I say that, I still have a problem with the ones in prison. The ones that did the ultimate crimes, the child crimes, but hey, I still struggle with that. However, yeah, that's another story too. You know, when I was younger, I experienced a lot of abuse, sexual abuse, and held that inside for many years, and it hurt me. And so when I got into sobriety when I was 20, I went through considerable therapy, even though I don't like the word therapist. That's what inspired me to start on that track and want my degree in clinical counseling, because a very cool therapist walked me through my trauma and helped me recover from it. I wouldn't have without her. I really don't think so. I saw her for about 2 years regularly, and I cried with her. I talked with her for long hours and yelled at her and showed her. I just shared everything with her, every part of me, and she loved me even when I was unlovable, because I was a stubborn kid. I still am stubborn today. So, yeah, I recovered from childhood trauma, being abused. I was in a relationship when I was 17, or this guy used to like beat me all the time. And sorry, Mom, and it might be hard for Mom to hear this story, but I experienced a lot of bad stuff. I just ended up in a lot of bad places, and I'm grateful. Speaking of my mom, grateful to my mom. You know, she's been there like the whole time. Oh, not ever left. Maybe she didn't do it gracefully. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she wishes she would have done better. But I'm grateful to her that she never left me. She never abandoned me. And she's still here today. She does the best she can. And she's so beautiful. My mom is so beautiful, inside and out. And that's why I am really happy that I look a lot like her. And that's a good thing, because, man, my mom she is beautiful. And so watching her grow through the years too has been pretty cool. We have come a long ways, my mom and I, our relationship. And this is way too long. It is time to end part 2. I love you. Love you guys. Stay tuned for part 3.